Ah, God, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the same position as George, you know? Everyone else leaves the house, your granny's there, and you just think, yeah, let's poison her. I know what we're doing today, Ferb. we're talking about the most ridiculous Roald Dahl book there is. This is also, it was one of my favourites as a kid, which doesn't speak well for what I thought about my grandmother, clearly. I love my grandmother, but anyway, George's Marvellous Medicine is a book about George Cranky. What? His name's really George Cranky? Okay. And he basically is left alone by his parents with his grandmother for the day, and she's not very nice, so George, in his infinite wisdom, decides that he's going to put every liquid and, well, just every item, I think, in his house into one big concoction, cook it all up, feed it to her and try and kill her, you know? Normal kid stuff. Kids these days, you know, the crazy ideas they have. Anyway, yeah, I don't know how this was an actual kid's book. It was, and of course she didn't die. Well, why do I say of course? She could have died, you know? If that's what's happened in this book, she could have died. But no, she didn't. She kind of turned into like this giant necked like giraffe chicken thing. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff in that book. It was a weird book, okay? It is a quick fan cast for me, you know. There's 4 characters in the book, really. There's George, his parents, and his grandmother. And of course, if they made an actual live-action film adaptation, as I'm talking about here, they'd add in more characters, but this is kind of what I've got. I'm not going to randomly make up characters to cast. There'd probably be like a policeman or something. Maybe George would have like a friend, a girl that's a friend, that's a neighbour, that kind of thing. You know, you could add those in. I'm not going to really worry about it too much. I'm just going to cast these 4. So George himself is, I mean, it's because it's a dark kind of story. It's a darkly comic tale. My mind immediately jumps to one child actor, okay, on this thing. You know, I don't know how they would make this a real pure kids film today, you know, but a kind of black comedy that kids could also enjoy. I'd kind of get that, you know. Even then there'd be a lot of protests about, Jesus Christ, no, you know, the video game argument that kids will watch this and then poison their grandmothers. But in my mind, if you wanted to do this, I think you'd need someone with experience in this kind of black comedy role. And there's not a lot of kid actors out there with experience in black comedic leading roles. So you've got to cast Roman Griffin Davis from Jojo Rabbit. Perfect, okay? That's exactly what you need, okay? It was such a dark story, Jojo Rabbit. He nailed the lead in that. And it was, you know, it was about a kid who decided he wanted to go become a Nazi, you know, a kid deciding that he wants to go kill his grandmother, you know, not dissimilar. Not gonna make any more comment on it than that. But that's basically, that's all I can think of is, yeah, you need someone like that. And Roman hasn't got a lot of attention. I don't know what else he's really starring in upcoming after that, despite being a great lead. You know, his co-stars like Archie Yates getting a lot of roles. Not him. I don't know why. Anyway, next, after that, you need the grandmother. She's got to be awful. You know, there's a few people I kind of considered and it was kind of like, well, I don't know. She doesn't come off as quite mean enough in various roles, you know? So I'm going the full way into... I talked about this in some other video. I can't remember what one. But there's always, you know, in any horror movie, and this isn't a horror movie, but it's kind of the nasty, nasty grandmother role. If you were going black comedy, then bits with her in it at the beginning, they'd basically be like horror-y, you know, like it's so terrifying to go near her. That's why he's got to kill her off, you know. So in every horror movie in like the last 15 years, if there's an old lady character, it's played by Lin Shaye, okay? You gotta recognize her. If you've ever watched a horror movie, then you've gotta recognize her from something. You know, she's the old lady in the Insidious movies, she's in the new Grudge movie, she's in so many things, and I always look, anytime I'm like, oh, there's, you know, they've got to go find out about the history of this demon or something like that, I'm like, oh, are they gonna go find Lin Shaye? And then half the time I'm right and they do, okay? She's been in about 40 horror movies in the last 20 years. It's unbelievable. Anyway, she's also just a marvellous grandmother role, and she can kind of pull that off, you know, nice or mean, which means, you know, he'll go in, she could just be like, you know. That's exactly what the expression I wanted to make as well, by the way. Next, after that it's just Mr. and Mrs. Cranky. Cranky. Yeah, George's parents, they would play a bigger role in the film. They're kind of missing in action for most of the book because most of the book is George putting this together. It'd probably be done as like a montage really in the film, but it's most of the book him going around his house, different rooms, and just going, oh, I'll take this, and I'll take this. I think at one point as a kid I did try to make a version of it. I didn't want to feed it to anybody. I just wanted to like put everything in my house together and see what would happen. I can't remember what it turned out like. Can't remember how far I got before my parents told me. Anyway, basically for Mr. Cranky, I kind of think you want somebody who, because Mr. Cranky is such a funny role, he comes in and he sees that George has done this horrible thing to his grandmother, and he just kind of goes, what'd you put in it? We could really market this. You know? It's so funny. So in my mind, you need somebody who can pull off, again, kind of like this, it's not quite like an outrightly comedic role, though in the film it just could be, but I kind of think you want somebody like Matt Damon, you know. I considered people like Sam Rockwell, but I didn't want to just cast all of Jojo Rabbit, you know. But Matt Damon is brilliant for this kind of thing. Yeah, just look at his like cameo in Thor Ragnarok, you know. It's just so funny. He's so funny when he wants to be. And he's been in a couple of stinkers recently when it comes to comedies. You know, like Downsizing. It's kind of like, oh no. But in general, the man is magnificent, and he's that kind of age now, you know. Ever since We Bought a Zoo, you've kind of been like, oh right, he is a dad age now. Wow, when did that happen? Next, and finally, you need Mrs. Cranky, and she's in it even less than Mr. Cranky, you know. But again, in the film, she'd be a more important role because you couldn't take up the whole film with George just walking around his house putting things into this concoction. It just doesn't work like that, you know. Even if you added in like other characters for him, like a policeman and that. Those are good ideas actually. Maybe I should just add those on to the end. But basically Mrs. Cranky, you just need another kind of mother character, somebody of that age, you know. In my mind, I think Sandra Bullock, okay? And I think Sandra Bullock because, again, she's got such wonderful comedic chops. I love Miss Congeniality. That was a long time ago, but I still think, like, she's the kind of person who I can imagine walking into this, you know, even at the stage where, like, Mr. Cranky is, like, helping George, sees the grandmother and just goes, what the fuck are you doing? You know, just the incredulous look, like, and it's true that she's been playing a mother for, like, a very long time. Is she in her 50s now? She might be. But even so, it doesn't matter, you know. She doesn't look like it. She'll never look like it. Anyway, that's all for this fancast, folks. But let me know what other roles you think they'd put in a live-action adaptation of this film. And maybe I'll take a look back at this at some other stage. But for now, thank you guys for watching. And do not forget to please subscribe. Bye.